Let's get to some football talk, Mike. What do we got?
Yes, we do. So, Browns open up OTAs.
Yeah.
Now, granted, and I want to preface everything with this, these are currently voluntary OTAs. Voluntary. It's a
No
big
need
word.
to preface that. We all know that.
86 of the 90 players
Yeah.
currently on the Browns roster showed up for day one of OTAs.
Yeah.
The 4 guys absent, you can take tag board full, Steve. Joel Bitonio, Nick Chubb, David Njoku, and Myles Garrett. Big deal, little deal, or no deal that these 4 as a whole, or any one of these 4 in particular, is not there for voluntary OTAs.
Guys, for me, it's a no deal. I don't care at all. If it was a guy who was coming off a significant injury maybe, or it was a young player, maybe I'd care a little bit. Would I rather them be there than not? Sure. If I had to choose, I'd rather the guys be there. But to me, it's no big deal. These are all veteran players. I guess if you cared about anybody, it might be Njoku. It's a little weird to me that Nick Chubb is not there because I feel like he's always at these things. But in the end, I don't care. It's a 0 deal for me.
Dundada, 0, nothing burger, Minimoski at the minus, bro. Like you talk about 3 of these dudes as borderline Hall of Famers. You got Myles Garrett, Nick Chubb, Joe Bitonio. I'm not worried about them in the least. Actually, to be truthful, they earned it. If I was Kevin Stefanski, I would come out and say, listen, you know what I told him? Yeah, coach, we're missing Njoku and we're missing Bitonio and Myles Garrett and Chubb. No, I told them to stay home. They deserve it. We got enough young guys that we need to take a look at. And you know what? We're going to get an opportunity to see some good defensive ends. There's a position for running back that's available. Jerome Ford, I like to see what you're talking about. Hey, listen, DeJuan Jones. We got a lot of different Nick Harris. Man, let me see some of these new dudes. I don't even care if they'll come to the next one. Like, I know what they're going to bring to the table.
I'm a little surprised by you guys. I think this is a little bit of a deal. And listen, I don't want to go crazy because when we had a raging debate in this town for years over OTAs with Odell, and Odell was missing them. And I was in your guys' camp of this is a nothing burger. Like, what are we doing here? But that was a receiver, and that was a little different. I don't care about Bitonio. Personally, I think Bitonio is following the J.C. Treader boycott. Bitonio and Treader are still very good friends. Treader was president of the Players Union and pushing. If you recall, these are not necessary. It's risk of injury. I think Bitonio's fallen in line with this guy. Fine, whatever. You're a guard.
Yeah.
Njoku, whatever. Chubb, I think it's maybe tied to the contract. This could be his last year in Cleveland. We don't need to get into that
so
now.
Myles Garrett is the one.
Myles Garrett.
Why? Because of the new players on the D-line?
If you want to be a leader on this team, if you're a franchise pillar, you need to be at this. And it's a new defensive coordinator. It's a new scheme. There's a lot at stake this year. There's a lot of jobs at stake. Your future of your career is at stake because if this thing goes sideways, who knows where this goes? Like, this is a really important season and a really important offseason. And if you want to carry yourself as a pillar of this franchise and as a leader of this franchise, set the tone. What would we be saying if Deshaun Watson was not at OTAs? What would you say?
Yeah, I'd have a different feeling about it.
You'd have a different feeling.
That's
Well,
true.
Myles Garrett's the quarterback of the defense, and if he's going to be the face of the defense and he's the leader, he needs to be at these. And listen, there's a lot of OTAs, and in the past, he's been at some of these, and he's missed some of these. This is the day that's open to the media. Come on, show up. And maybe there's going to be others in the future. Maybe he'll be there next week.
Right.
But if it's not asking a lot, and I think because of the position you play and the role you hold on this team, this is different. This is different than Nick Chubb, even Chubb. This is certainly different than Joel Bitonio. It's different than Odell back in the day. You're the face of the franchise, one of the faces of the franchise. You need to be at these. And I'm not going to say it's a big deal, but it rubbed me the wrong way that Myles wasn't there.
On a scale of 1 to 10, what's the deal to you?
5, 4, 5. And it's just it's the little things, right? It's the little things about Myles that this is another one of those where it's like he's such an imposing figure and he's so dominant, and you just feel like, man, you just feel like there's just something more that you could get. And this falls into that category for me of like, man, just be there. Just show up. Why not? Just show up. If you're going to be the face of the franchise, then be the face of the franchise and show up.
We've talked about, I think you make some fair points. We talk about Myles Garrett, as great as he's been, having that one more gear that only a few players can get to, that he can, or at least we think he can, and he hasn't. and everything is set for the first time in his career. He's in a perfect position to reach that final level, if you will, because the talent around him is the best it's been. The defensive coordinator is the best he's had.
The help around him. He has depth now. He doesn't have to be in for 80% of the snaps.
It's there. In the big picture, I think, if he might even be there today. Who knows? I mean, I don't know what the plan is.
Right.
If he's at the rest of the offseason work and he's healthy for training camp, we'll look back. Who cares? It wasn't a big deal. But to some small degree, I think it's a fair point with him specifically.
Especially the fact it's a new system, it's a new scheme.
Yeah.
Like these are, and Kevin
and it's all new defensive line. He's playing with different guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Kevin has talked at length in years past about the importance of this stuff and how they didn't have it during the COVID years, and then they didn't have it because everyone followed Treader's lead and nobody showed up. And these are really important times. And it may not seem like a big deal in September, but these are still important practices. And again, I don't care about Bitonio. I don't care about Chubb. I don't care about Njoku, whatever. But Myles is different. He holds a different position on this team, a different importance to this team. I think, especially on the day when the media is there and the cameras are there and it's going to be talked about, you need to be there.
I think one thing that we got to understand too is he was coming off injury. He did get hurt in a Pro Bowl. He dislocated his toe or something.
Yeah.
Not to say that that's like a major injury or anything. I just think for Myles Garrett, this happens a lot. I kind of compare Myles Garrett a little bit to guys like Wilt Chamberlain and even to a certain extent LeBron James, in that they are so much physically gifted as far as his traits, like what he can do on the field. He's faster than everybody. He's bigger. He's stronger. He bends in ways that a man that size should not be able to bend. And he got in a car accident, destroyed the car, and he got out like nothing happened, like almost. Like, you got to think about it.
It's his fault that this happened.
But that just goes to physically, it's almost to a point where we be feeling like he's indestructible. Like this is Myles Garrett is some sort of mutant. Like he's like a X-Men or something.
But I think that Jason's point is it doesn't even matter necessarily if he practices.
Yeah, it's
Just
presence.
be there.
If you mentioned LeBron,
Yeah.
If the NBA had OTAs, you think LeBron would be there?
Probably.
I can tell you 1,000,000%.
Probably,
he would be there. He would be there. Now, it's a different sport, but Myles carries himself as the LeBron of the Browns. He thinks he's the LeBron of the Browns, so then act like it.
And I don't know about you guys, but like, you said that those three guys, well, forget Njoku, because he's not as important to the team as the other guys. Bitonio, Chubb, and Myles Garrett have been the three best Browns, right? They're all guys who could be in the Hall of Fame someday. Mm-hmm. For me, and I'll admit, I don't know this to be 100% true. This is just my feeling on the situation. It may be totally unfair. And maybe it's because Myles Garrett is the freakiest of freaks that I feel this way. But in my mind, Joel Bitonio and Nick Chubb do everything they possibly can to be the greatest player they can possibly be. And for me, Myles Garrett, like those guys do 100. And to me, Myles does 95. Now, that may be completely unfair. That's just how it feels to me. It's just an impression. I don't know.
I feel like, so the thing with Myles Garrett is, kind of going back to what I was saying, he's so good that sometimes you diminish just the level that, like, people compare him to TJ Watt, right?
Yeah.
And as a pure pass rusher, skill for skill, pound for pound, it's not even close like that as far as physical traits. He's not. You might look at Micah Parsons, right? That's the closest I can say that's like in the same area. But even with Myles Garrett, he's bigger than Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
And he moves the same way. Sometimes I think that when we look at those numbers, and he put them numbers up so many times in a row, like he's giving you 12 to 17 every year. Think about how many other guys opposite him, right, couldn't get to 10. Look how many people can't get to 10 or 9. Jadeveon Clowney was the number 1 pick overall. He has some of the same physical gifts. To get 16 sacks is not easy. Now, if he wants to be known as the Aaron Donald, and he's told us he wants to go to a new level, then It's not that much to ask for. And it is relatively fair to say, if you want to be that,
Right.
we need to see you in the tackles for loss. And I've been critical of that as well. What are you doing in the run game? Tackles for loss, different things like that. But sometimes I do think Myles Garrett gets we're a little more harder on him because he's that physically gifted, and he's more physically gifted.
And more is expected of him.
Yeah,
Right.
So that's just what it is. Can he get to another level? Yeah, I think
He needs
can.
to. He
I
needs
think
to.
he
He
can.
needs to.
And there's more depth and more talent around him to
Yeah.
where you would think that he won't wear down.
Yeah.
You know, they've asked so much of him in terms of the number of snaps that he's played that hopefully they can scale that back a little bit this year. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. Myles and Ogunjobi were over like 90% of snaps. That's outrageous for a defensive lineman. You know that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
ridiculous.
that's
If they can get that down to the 75% level with Myles
Yeah, they
this
should be
year,
even better.
that will hopefully sustain him a little bit longer and give him a little bit more
Right.
stamina in the
And
long
he's
run.
had, as indestructible as he seems, he has been banged up. He's played through most of it,
Yep.
but he's been banged up
And
over the years, and it's affected his play.
I give him. I know I just roughed him up a little bit.
Yeah.
I give him so much credit because he let them down with the car accident last year. He let them down.
Yeah.
But he knew it, and he sucked it up.
Yeah, and he played through it.
And I watched him not even be able to get his shirt on after games. I watched him need help because he couldn't raise his arm and get his shirt on after games, and he was still out there. And I give him full credit for that.
Yeah.
For fighting through when you did it to yourself, and you know you did it to yourself. So you did everything you could to not let your team down a second time and play through it as much as you could. Full credit for that. Yeah.
What I do love is that Myles Garrett was not there, and Zadarius Smith was very vocal.
Yeah.
He even spoke to the media. And we had Matthew Collar on last week and said
Yeah.
all of last year he spoke to the media twice.
Wow.
Twice.
And he
right?
already spoke to the Cleveland
Yeah.
media.
And then Dalvin Tomlinson was out there looking very large.
Hey, listen, Dalvin, I had to go back in the time. I had to look, man. This is, Jason, you said it. This is why when people talk about it and they say, I got my Kool-Aid skits. I do the Duke and knee jerk. My knees is out today. We might have to shake them a little bit today too. But pound for pound, let's not act like they don't have thoroughbreds up front. They have some nice pieces and parts up front. And I get excited as a defensive lineman because I'm seeing all of these skill sets, man. I had to go back and go look at Maurice Hurst from Michigan. Maurice Hurst at Michigan was dominant.
And he was good with the Niners.
He was
first 2
good
years.
with the 49ers.
Yeah.
So, not saying all these guys are going to come in and be some sort of Aaron Donald clones, but the great thing about it is, yes, Myles Garrett wasn't there, but think about if Myles Garrett wasn't there and we had the same roster that we had last year. You'd be losing your mind. Like now you got all these guys, Obo. I'm glad these guys are going to get an opportunity to show what they can really do. And I'm interested in seeing some of these guys and what they can bring to the table.
The bottom line is we all love and respect Myles Garrett. He's a great player.
100%.
But when you're that talented and you've been that productive, and he's been very productive, the expectations for him couldn't possibly be higher. And so maybe that's a little unfair, but I mean, that's what I would want if I were a player.
It comes with the salary
Yeah.
he's making.
Yeah,
It comes
that's right.
with the salary. It comes with the status.
Yes.
It comes with the number one pick.
Yep.
It comes with wanting to be wanting to go to Hall of Fame.
He
wanting to
talks
be one of
every
the
year about
greatest
wanting to be the Defensive Player of the Year. Well, let's go get it.
This is what comes with that.
It's set up for him to win it this year.
Absolutely.
If you get 20 sacks, Myles Garrett, hey, bro, you don't never got to show up again. Give me 20 sacks this year.
Yeah, we don't
and,
need. Yeah.
And a strip sack against Josh Allen in the divisional round to seal the deal, and you ain't never got to show up.
There's
That's it.
so much
It's
on
over.
the line this year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
no doubt.
so much at stake.
Everything, everybody's job. All right, Mikey, let's get the faces going.